Hey everyone, welcome to the detailed discussion on Scrum. Scrum is one of the popular agile software development frameworks. In this particular video, we are going to discuss about what is Scrum, the conceptual frameworks of Scrum, and we will also discuss about various Scrum roles, and we are going to discuss Scrum process in detail. This is going to be a relatively long video, about 25 minutes, but by the end of this video, you will have a complete conceptual understanding of Scrum. By choosing to listen to this video, I also assume you are already familiar with waterfall model and the problems of waterfall model, which is a traditional software development model. If not, I would suggest you to watch my previous series on 7 reasons for agile software development, where I have covered the very high level introduction of waterfall model and the problems of waterfall model and 7 reasons for moving on to agile software development. Scrum is a framework for developing complex products and systems. Again, we need to clarify. People always think any agile method, especially Scrum, is only for simple products and small duration products. Contrary to that belief, Scrum is primarily for developing complex products and systems. It is grounded in empirical process and control theory. Empirical process means inspect and adapt. Do something, check, adapt, then do something better, inspect, adapt. That is primarily the empirical process theory. Scrum employs an iterative and incremental approach to optimize predictability. That is primarily the most important phrase. To optimize predictability and control risk. This definition is given by Ken Schwaber, who is one of the founders of Scrum methodology. Now let's look at what is this iterative and incremental. This is a nice simple example given by Jeff Patton. Let's take the example of drawing a Mona Lisa picture. So incremental approach, draw first one half and then add another quarter and then add another quarter, piece by piece, build the product over a period of time, one by one. That is incremental approach. Iterative approach, first draw the outline, the sketch, and improve this a bit more, bring it to the middle level and then perfect it still further and come up with a perfect picture. This is iterative approach. In fact, Scrum and for that matter, any agile method follows iterative and incremental approach. So it's not just incremental or iteration, it has both. Probably in the first go, have one part of iteration, this increment of iteration, then perfect this better, at the same time add another piece and perfect the earlier pieces and add new piece. That is how Scrum works. Contrary to the sequential approach that waterfall takes. Requirements, complete design, complete code, complete test. No, that is not done in Scrum. It all starts with the product vision. The stakeholders, the customers, the end users, the senior management team, and whoever are responsible for, these people together come up with the vision for the product. What do we want the product to achieve? Based on the high level vision, there is something called product backlog. Product backlog is nothing but the series of features which will go into the product. So as understood, as prioritized at the time of starting of the project, this product backlog will be always live. We will keep on adding things to the product backlog. And from the product backlog, the Scrum team pulls out a small portion of it on the highly prioritized one, the topmost priority items. They pull a manageable chunk into something called sprint backlog. So these sprint backlog will be executed. You will understand the requirements much better for this sprint backlog, break it down into activity level, then schedule all those activities, then keep on doing requirements, design, coding, testing of all these features, and end of that, say 30-day period, come up with a product increment. These are all not just documents, these are all product increments. Come up with the working products and keep building the products piece by piece, integrate them in line with the vision. This is the very high level Scrum. There are 3 personalities involved. There are multiple roles in a waterfall model or a sequential model, but here in Agile there are only 3 roles: product owner, Scrum Master, the project team or the Scrum team. So there are only 3 groups of people who are involved in Scrum projects. So the process of Scrum starts with the product owner. Product owner gets the input from end users, customers, team and other stakeholders and come up with the product backlog. Product backlog are a list of features prioritized by the product owner in the sequence of business requirements and kept live and owned by the product owner. And from this product backlog, the team pulls something called sprint backlog. And this happens for every sprint. If a sprint is for 4 weeks, once in 4 weeks this pull happens, and the sprint backlog will not only have the features prioritized for the sprint as well as the activities tasks. Then the team executes this, building the product in sprint. The product backlog is a single master list of features. Any feature, any defect from previous iterations, anything should be made available only here. This is a single master list of features ordered based on business value and business risk. And the product backlog is constantly being revised by the product owner. Product owner is the only person who owns the product backlog and only person who can make changes to the product backlog. Whichever change you want to make into the product backlog should go only to the product owner and he maintains that. Next comes the team, the Scrum team. Scrum team ideally consists of 7 plus or minus 2 people, which means somewhere from 5 people to 9 people. That is a Scrum team. If your project is so big, you have to break it into multiple Scrum teams. And the team has to be cross-functional. Team will have requirements people, team will have designers, team will have coders, testers, everyone. So team itself should be self-sustaining, should have all the life cycles possible within that particular iteration or product. The team is self-organized and self-managed. There is no role of manager in any Scrum project. The team organizes everything themselves. And the team makes a commitment how much they will produce within that sprint. That is a first level commitment. They also commit every day in the daily Scrum meeting what they will do in the next day and what they have done in the previous day. So commitment happens continuously. Self-organizing, self-managed and committing to the products and responsibilities. Next, sprint. Sprint is referred to the fixed period of time that team commits to work in the course of development product. This sprint duration, though we say 1 to 4 weeks, but once it is fixed for that project, say if you fix that for 4 weeks, you will not change the duration of the sprint. Until the final deliverable of this particular project, the sprint will be of only 4 weeks duration. So it's a fixed period of time when the team commits to work and deliver the working software. And working at a sustainable pace is important. That is why we don't want this to change. See, in the first sprint you worked for 4 weeks and you learned something, like probably you have not estimated properly, you have overcommitted your work or whatever, or you have pulled too much from the product backlog into the sprint backlog, which could be done within the sprint, whatever it is. All those learnings should be useful and usable in the next sprint. If the first sprint is 4 weeks, next sprint is 2 weeks, you don't sustain that learning. So we want the learning of every sprint should go to next sprint. That is why we want to have fixed sprints for sustainable pace and also to avoid burnout of team members. That is one thing Scrum is very particular about. There should not be any burnout. Okay, now before each sprint, the team selects what it will commit to deliver by end of the sprint. So as I discussed earlier, it is the responsibility of the team to commit what they will deliver by end of that sprint. And the team creates a task level plan. So they break this down into various tasks and they also plan who will do what within that month. The team works together to create an individual assignment of tasks. It is again the responsibility of the team. The manager does not assign or allocate tasks to the team members. The team members themselves do that and compares the total estimated task hours with the total available task hours and make sure they can commit all these tasks. If something cannot be done within that stipulated time, they may even remove some of those low priority stuff from here. But they have to ensure what they have picked up from the product backlog is something they can do within that duration of that sprint. So that is the responsibility of the team. Everyone on the team takes part regardless of the experience level. So here it is not only for the senior people or experienced people. Everybody in that team should participate in actual planning on committing the work within that sprint. Now, once you have picked up something and committed, these are all the tasks we are going to do in this particular sprint, that tasks do not change for whatever reason. See, we discussed earlier in the Scrum principle or Agile principles, changes are welcome. Yeah, changes are welcome here. In the product backlog, you can make any changes through the product owner. But once you have picked up into the sprint backlog, no changes are allowed here. You will have to wait for the completion of this particular sprint, then you add another high priority item. But within that 4 weeks, nothing will change. See, you have to fix something. You cannot keep working on completely flexible environment. So we fix it here for a constant pace again. This enables team to make and keep commitments. See, if you keep on changing and adding new features, team will not be comfortable making commitments. They will feel, what is the big point in this? Because we commit something, later product owner or scrum master is going to add something more and we may not be in a position to complete it. So we don't want team to feel that way and we want the team to commit appropriate things. So that is primary thing. It gives the team focus and stability on the sprint. So once the team knows if they have committed something, nothing changes, then they are completely focused on what they have to do. And it trains the product owner to clearly think through what is on the product backlog, because product owner is responsible for not only collecting the product backlog as well as prioritizing the product backlog, and the topmost priority items are going to be pulled here. Later, if product owner comes and changes and tells no, that is not the high priority, that is not acceptable. So if the duration and the tasks are not going to change, this brings more discipline also to the product owner to prioritize it properly, so that team will always pick and choose the high priority items. However, in some rare cases, something completely unthought of and uncalled for may occur, and really some of those changes need to be done. In that case, in that extreme case, product owner can terminate this particular sprint, stop everything, and then put the work in progress back into the product backlog and reinitiate another sprint with reprioritized product backlog. That is okay, but that does not usually happen, and in all possible aspects we will try to avoid this. Okay, next. In return for making this, for not making the changes during the sprint, the product owner can make any change in the product backlog and reprioritize anything for the next sprint. That is allowed. So this is where we say all changes are welcome and product owner is responsible for that. And during that sprint, every day there is a daily scrum meeting or daily stand-up meeting. The team has a short meeting to update each other. See, remember, this is a self-organizing team. Nobody allocates work to you, but you should know what you have done. At least the team should know what the team has done. So every day you have to have a short meeting to update each other on the progress of the project as well as any impediments or blocks. They usually stand up primarily because if you stand up, it gets done faster. It's only a 15 minutes meeting. If you sit so comfortably, it may not be completed in 15 minutes. So you stand in a circle looking at each other so everyone can listen to what everyone else says, and it does not cross more than 15 minutes. Within 15 minutes, you have to quickly update and what have you completed, so far and what are you planning to do tomorrow and what are the impediments you have. The Scrum Master notes the blocks. That is the primary responsibility of the Scrum Master, and notes all the blocks, and after the Scrum meeting is over, Scrum Master's responsibility is to go and undo or do away with all those blocks. So work on those them and then resolve those issues for the team to work properly. So we want the team to focus on doing things, and we want the Scrum Master to pave the way for them so that the team will move faster. And another interesting thing, the Scrum meeting is primarily for the Scrum team, Scrum Master and the product owner. But if anyone else, including the senior management, wants to participate in some of the Scrum meetings, daily meetings, they are okay, but they are not allowed to talk. They are not allowed to ask any questions to the team. This is not a status update meeting to the senior management. This is the status update meeting within the team. And every day the team uses a simple chart. This is very powerful. And this chart is visible to everyone. It will be displayed on the working area of the Scrum team. See, this is a plan line, and the second one is the actual line. So, the sprint backlog list all the tasks, primarily how much time is left to be completed for this sprint. That is what we are tracking every day. Yeah, how much you have completed is okay, but how much more time is required to complete the project is much more important. That will only tell you whether are we on time or are we behind schedule. If we are behind schedule, at least the Scrum team know they have to do something different, so that they will finish everything within that 30-day period. So these charts enable the team to successfully self-manage and deliver what they have committed, because nobody has to go and tell them, hey, you said that and you have not done that. So all those things are there available on that particular chart. So looking at the chart, we know how are we progressing towards the goal. And Scrum Master, the third role. This is a new role in Scrum. And we need to also understand Scrum Master is not a typical traditional project manager. This is a completely new role. It can be played by an existing person, either a project manager or team member, but if a project manager plays the role of Scrum Master, he has to understand his role is completely different now. He cannot behave like a traditional project manager. He cannot allocate work every day or every week. He cannot go back and ask the team members, what have you done yesterday? That is not Scrum Master's job. The team will update themselves. Scrum Master is a facilitator here. So the project manager, if he happens to play the role of the Scrum Master, he has to first get trained and he has to understand his role is different here. And the Scrum Master serves the team. In fact, there is a nice term used. Scrum Master is a servant leader. He is not a leader, he is a servant leader. He has to serve the team and protect the team from external disturbances. Even protecting the team from even the product owner. If the product owner wants to add a new feature halfway through the sprint, it is the responsibility of the Scrum Master to explain to the product owner, this is not allowed, please don't do that. And this will impede the progress of our Scrum sprint team or Scrum team. So the Scrum Master's role is to protect the team from any external disturbances, and sometimes with internal disturbances like from product owner. And he also teaches and guides the team's use of Scrum. He becomes also a preacher or becomes also a trainer. It is the responsibility of the Scrum Master to train both the product owner as well as to the team on the values, principles and practices of Agile. And not only just training, if something goes wrong and the people have not followed it properly, it is the responsibility of the Scrum Master to also make sure people follow the process, not only getting trained but also following the process. Okay, so next, the potentially shippable product increment. The aim of the team is to complete 100% of what they have committed to, ideally as an increment, which should be potentially shippable for the product. The word potentially is very important. The final deliverable is a working software, and if required, you should be in a position to ship to the customer, and if required, customers should be in a position to even use the working software. So we need to not just give the software piece, it should be potentially shippable to the client if need be. So working software. should be given at the end of every sprint. So this means functionality that has been designed, fully implemented and fully tested and with no major bugs. So that has to be ensured for every potentially shippable product increment. And a few teams can do product potentially shippable a product from sprint 1, which is very difficult. First sprint or first 2 sprints are always a bit difficult sprints because teams learn a lot of things. Probably in your first sprint it may not be potentially shippable, but our target is potentially shippable from the first sprint. Even if you may not achieve in initial few sprints, but you have to target towards potentially shippable. Don't think anyway first sprint we cannot ship it, first sprint the output may not be perfect. If you plan it that way, then you will definitely not give shippable product. Target towards shippable product. If you do not achieve in the first sprint, probably that may be okay. And at the end of every sprint, there are 2 reviews happen. First one is called sprint review meeting. In the sprint review meeting, the product owner, the team, the scrum master and the customers, any stakeholders of this product, all of them come together and see a demo of the working software. We don't show any documents to them. We don't show any PowerPoint slides to them. We show the actual working product of those functionalities that have been pulled for this sprint to the user community. So this is primarily a product review. The users of the product gives the feedback from everyone, primarily the users and stakeholders get the feedback. Usually the product owner captures all the feedback and updates the product backlog. So that is primarily the product review meeting or sprint review meeting. And there is one more meeting also is happening here. After the product review meeting, you go to retrospective meeting. In the retrospective meeting, it is primarily only for the team, the scrum master as well as the product owner. These people meet at the end of each sprint, review the way of working, primarily the process review. What went wrong from process perspective, what went right and what should they improve and all those aspects. See, the sprint review is a product review, sprint retrospection is a process review. You look at entire Scrum process and reevaluate what went right and what went wrong. Let's summarize. Scrum is an iterative and incremental framework. It is not a sequential framework like waterfall model. And work happens in sprints. Sprint is a cycle of work developed. Usually the duration of sprint is 2 to 4 weeks. And every sprint happens one after other without any pause. There is no time pause between 2 sprints. And the sprint is time boxed. Either it is 2 weeks or 4 weeks, it is fixed. They end whether the work ends or not. If it is 4 weeks, even if you do not complete anything, the sprint ends in 4 weeks. You cannot extend it. And at the beginning, a cross-functional team forms the priority list based on customer requirements owned by the product owner. And during the sprint, the chosen items do not change. We already discussed that. Within the sprint, no change. That is another important aspect of Scrum. And everyday inspection and adjustment. So inspect and adapt. That happens through daily Scrum meeting. And end of the sprint, review with the stakeholders happens, which is sprint review. And feedbacks are taken and incorporated into the sprint. And also we do a retrospection meeting to understand how does this Scrum process works and do a retrospection within the team and product owner and Scrum master and do a process review. End of sprint, fully tested product is formed as per customer requirements. And if required, you can ship it to the customer. So the working software is delivered at the end of every sprint.